20% of businesses fail during the first 2 years of being open, 45% during the first 5 years, and 65% during the first 10 years. Get this, only 25% of new businesses make it to 15 years or more. And over the last 6 years, I've been grateful to have built 3 different 7-figure businesses, but before that, from the ages of 18 to 27 years old, I had 9 failed businesses and none of them even made it to 6 figures. So in this video, I want to uncover the lessons that I've seen and experienced firsthand on why people fail in business and what you can do about it. Now, given I've had more failures than successes at this point, if you're looking for someone who's done everything right from the beginning with no mistakes, I'm not your guy. I've experienced losing money, sleepless nights, panic attacks, and laying in bed praying to God to help me figure out a way with my business. So my intention with this video is to help you to avoid the embarrassment, the sleepless nights, and the mental anguish that I put myself through in trying to grow and build businesses to support my family and make my dreams come true. And so that leads us to the question of, well, why are these businesses failing and what do we do about it? So there's some stats going around that I think you'll find really shocking. Only 40% of small businesses are profitable, 30% break even, and the other 30% lose money. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the video. It's quite simple. If you make a profit, that's how you avoid failure as an entrepreneur. No, this is the obvious reason. The question is why? Why are only 40% of businesses making a profit? So many statistics point it back to the lack of funding or lack of capital, but that's just the effect. It's not the cause. You've got to dig into the root issue of this. So first, noting the failure rates without mentioning that a lot of these businesses are actually side hustles is not a fair measurement. Really measuring success and failure of someone who has a side hustle that they don't really need to make any money on versus a full-time business owner that has to make money in order to support their family and pay their employees, it's just not an accurate comparison. Check out some of these stats on side hustles. 34% or 1 in 3 Americans have a side gig. And side hustlers who dedicate 12 hours per week to their business earn on average about $1,100 per month through their business. And almost 50% of people with a side hustle do it because they want to, not because of the financial constraints. Another one is 32% of side hustlers spend just 5 to 10 hours per week on their business. The first reason of failure is pretty obvious. It really just comes down to commitment. I mean, screw stats for a second and let's just talk pure common sense. If you don't need to make money from your business, you probably won't. Once I bought my franchise, signed a lease, a 10-year lease that I had to personally guarantee and got a $300,000 loan, I was fully committed, all in. That was something that had not happened with my past 9 side hustles. One way to simply put yourself in a position to succeed over many of the people who fail in business is just to purely commit and to go all in and to put your back against the wall. I'm a true believer that when we're put in a position where we have to sink or swim, the majority of the time, we're gonna swim. It's not to say that you still won't fail, but failure is part of the process. And I think part of the reason, ironically, while people fail, I know that it's true for some of my past experiences, is you go in timidly, you dip your toe into the water because you're trying to avoid failure. Failure is a part of the process. It is impossible to succeed, especially as an entrepreneur, without failing. Entrepreneurship is a series of micro failures and your ability to keep going. But let's say, for example, that you're now committed and you're going, I'm going all in on becoming an entrepreneur. This is super important to me. This is something that I've wanted for a long time. I'm committed to making this happen. The second reason why people fail has to do with what they believe. Now, if you 100% believe that you'll be successful, you'll figure out a way. No matter how long it takes, you will figure out a way to succeed. What happens is, and this is what came up for me so many times, I had this thing in my head of business being hard and that I would fail. I wanted to be a successful entrepreneur, but in many ways, I didn't believe that I could actually make it happen. And so maybe you're watching this and subconsciously, you don't actually believe that you can do it. And so what happens is our beliefs drive our actions and our behaviors to the level of intensity that we do things. So think about it. If you right now subconsciously don't believe that you can be successful in a business, it's going to affect everything that you do, right? Like maybe you don't go all in. Maybe you don't commit because you don't truly believe, I'm scared, I don't know if I'm going to fail. So then I don't go all in and full-time in the business. And maybe just the act of embracing that, going full-time, going all in, is actually what helps you win. Let's say that you get past that part. You're committed and you're ready to do this. You believe, you truly believe. I believe I can be successful. And so because of that, my actions will align with my beliefs and I'm gonna take decisive, bold, courageous actions. Well, then number 3 is strategy. So here's what happens. When I started, one of my businesses was a landscaping business. Granted, I was pretty young at the time, but I didn't have a strategy on how to build a successful landscaping business. And so we have all these entrepreneurs who are going out there winging it, trying to make money as an entrepreneur without a strategy, without a blueprint, without a proven model of success, which is why the info market and all these courses and info products have become so popular, because people inherently know, we know that we need a strategy. We need a blueprint. Think about it. Having a strategy is like just having a GPS, looking on your phone, going, okay, I want to get from point A to point B. And I know that if I turn here, I turn here, I turn here, then I will be successful in getting to my destination, right? And so you can be as motivated and enthusiastic and have as much belief as you want in your business. If you don't have the right strategy, you will fail. So going back to when I started my landscaping business, I had started to get some commercial jobs of $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. It was really exciting, but I had no blueprint on how to get business, how to get customers, on how to actually fulfill. I mean, I knew how to mow lawns. A lot of it, I was just winging it, figuring it out as I went along. Another one of my businesses was starting a clothing line. I had no idea how to start a clothing line. And so as I'm going about it, again, I'm just winging it. So a lot of my failure was in just not knowing what to do, just being confused and overwhelmed and stuck of waking up going, there's so much that needs to get done. How do I turn this into something that I can make money from, yet alone replace my income? And so we get caught up into overthinking, and we'll talk about that a little bit because that's an important reason why people fail. So it's in a couple of points. But let's just say, for example, that again, now you're committed, you have this belief, and you have a great strategy. Then why do people still fail when like the strategy is right in front of them? Take one of my other experiences as an example. Earlier on, I joined a couple of MLM, multi-level marketing companies, right? What people now call pyramid schemes. And although there are many people that have succeeded in multi-level marketing, I'd say the vast majority don't. I mean, there's probably the top 3 or 5% actually succeed. Anyways, this is not about tearing down MLM, but there was a strategy. There was a template and a blueprint on you can do these things to be successful. But here's what happened. When it was like, hey, part of the strategy in the blueprint is to go talk to friends and family, go cold call people, go network. Number 4 is the mental side of things, of why people fail, because I was terrified. I had a lot of doubt. I was insecure. I didn't really believe in myself. It was uncomfortable. And so even when you have the strategy right in front of you, people will still procrastinate, will still doubt the strategy, or if the strategy will work for us. And this contributes to part of our failure, right? Which is one of the reasons why, for me, franchising and owning a franchise was so helpful in breaking and interrupting the pattern of failed businesses, because I was able to get the strategy that I needed, a strategy and blueprint that I knew over 100 other franchise owners in that franchise had used. And I was forced to overcome my fears and doubt and confusion and overwhelm and wanting to procrastinate, because there was accountability, there was structure. We're on weekly calls with the franchisor. I signed a lease. I had a general contractor. People are waiting on me to make decisions. So although these things were bubbling up, as they usually would, in terms of being fearful or procrastinating or being terrified to do things or being out of my comfort zone. What happened was I was in a position where I just had to do it because we had to keep the ball rolling. So number 5 is now focusing on the wrong things. Here's where so many entrepreneurs, this is where a lot of them fail, to be quite honest, is your success in the beginning as an entrepreneur is all about sales and marketing. This is one thing that I did not really understand. I didn't understand that having everything together and organized, none of that matters. In the beginning of a business, what matters is your ability to generate revenue, create sales, and bring money in the door. What happens is we'll spend so much time getting things ready, preparing, organizing, or if we're wanting to take action on something, we want it to be perfect. So meanwhile, we spend 2, 3, 4 weeks doing something. We haven't generated a single dollar for a business. So those things really don't matter. In the beginning, the lifeblood of the business is sales and marketing, and 80% of your time and energy as the owner, unless you have like a business partner or something, should be spent on sales and marketing because that's what's going to keep you succeeding. And it leads to number 6. Once you have enough sales, you can then focus on who, not how. What do I mean by that? There's a book out there called Who, Not How. It's incredible. The whole concept of the book is that most entrepreneurs get so caught up in how do I do this? How do I solve this problem in my business? How do I have a better marketing campaign? How do I have more efficient operations? How do I solve this specific challenge in my business? Where the real question that we need to be asking is who do I need? Because the reality is the entrepreneurs who become successful, they do it because they have a team. Unless you want to become a solopreneur, right? Then you're not really a business owner at that point. You're just self-employed. Your business is always dependent upon you. If you're not there, it doesn't make money. If you're not there, customers don't get fulfilled or helped. Those businesses have the least amount of value. By the way, if you then go to try to sell a business that's fully dependent on you and you do everything, good luck. You'll sell it for like 1 times profits. When you focus on sales and marketing, the more money you're able to generate, the more you're able to bring people into your business that you can delegate to, and that can do the things that you're not good at. So you can slowly start to focus on the needle movers that only you can do in the business. As an example, I actually don't consider myself great at marketing. Becoming a YouTuber and all this stuff, I guess I'd be considered a marketer now. But from the beginning of my business, in this online business, I hired people immediately to handle some of the operational side of things, the tech build out, the editing videos, all of those things that were not pertinent to me generating sales and creating revenue in the business. And I've seen a direct impact on our business. The more I've focused on sales and marketing and just hiring people, whether part-time, whether contract-based, whatever it is, to fulfill that aspect of the business, the better the business does. But it's not the answer to everything, because even if you start to find the right who, even if you start to delegate in your business, you're still not guaranteed success. Why? Because it leads to the next point, your ability to withstand pain. I've said a few times to some of our clients that entrepreneurship is really just your ability to endure pain for long periods of times. Entrepreneurship is a tough ride, and quite frankly, most people cannot endure the pain, cannot endure the suffering, cannot endure the sleepless nights, the anxiety, the uncertainty, the what if I fail, trying for months to solve a problem in your business that you're not able to solve. And at the end of the day, it's all on you. It's all on you ultimately to get the solution, or you're the one accountable or responsible. Even if you have people on your team, at the end of the day, you still have to make sure that the employees are paid, whether the problems are solved or not, that your family can eat, that you can provide for yourself. Entrepreneurship can feel extremely lonely at times. And so many times I thought about quitting. Well, I did quit with a lot of the businesses that I failed in. It was just hard to endure the pain. So what happens is this leads to the next point, which is not being able to follow through on what you start. And so what happens when it starts to get painful in the journey of entrepreneurship, then we jump ship. and we jump to the next thing. There's a phrase that one of my buddies says, who's been a very successful entrepreneur and runs a men's empowerment company. And he says, pain is the path. Everyone wants to avoid the pain, but it's actually the path that you need to go down, embracing the pain. There's also a book called The Obstacle is the Way. See, in the past, what would happen was I'd start a business, I'd experience obstacles or challenges, like maybe I'm not able to get enough customers, or people keep saying no to me, or I haven't made enough money, or I haven't been able to figure out this challenge in my business. And so it would become so uncomfortable and painful that I'd just give up and just jump to the next idea. And there's this graph about uninformed optimism. So when you first start a business, you have this uninformed optimism of like, oh, it's going to be great. I see all the opportunity. And then what happens is, so you start out an uninformed optimism, and then you go to informed pessimism, which is you're now educated. You know all the things that can go wrong. You know all the challenges. One of my mentors, Peter, who is a CEO of a very successful company, he calls this the valley of despair, where entrepreneurs get to this valley of despair and most give up. They give up, or they jump ship, or they jump to the next idea. And so you being able to succeed as an entrepreneur is directly in proportion to being able to follow through on what you started and enjoy the discomfort, even when you don't feel like it, even when you're tired. I'm sick right now. I don't know if you can notice, but my nose is all nasally and congested. But I had to record this video today. In order for this to get out on time, I had to record this video. So I literally have tissues right here. I don't feel great overall, but this is just what needs to be done. And so in the past, I might have not done it. Like, I don't feel well, and just use that as an excuse and not follow through. So here's a challenge for you real quick. Is I challenge you to follow through and watch the rest of this video. Like, we build this pattern and habit of not following through on things in our life. Oh, we start this idea, we start a book, we start going to the gym. It becomes a pattern and habitual way of acting and thinking. And so you'll need to interrupt the pattern. There's a phrase, how you do anything is how you do everything. Although I think that's an overgeneralization, I think overall it's true. We have a pattern of how we show up and behave in our lives. And that's why entrepreneurship is the greatest personal development project experience that you could ever take on. And so now I'm gonna rapid fire through some other things of the reasons why people fail, and a lot of what caused me to fail, to be quite honest, which is speed of implementation, not taking action quickly enough. Your ability to have an idea that you believe is going to work and believe is going to be effective, and your ability to condense that into action and implementing it is going to determine your success. I remember years ago, I would watch videos from this internet marketer. He built a multi-million-dollar business many years ago. He would talk about speed of implementation. I used to just think it was just a sales strategy and tactic to get people to buy stuff quicker. It was so true. I learned that watching my wife, having had already built her successful business when we had met, and having been an entrepreneur and I was still an employee, she had this habit and pattern of doing it right away, doing things right away, implementing right away. And I didn't. And that was part of the reason why I kept failing. And so a lot of that then goes back to the next point, which is having a lack of clarity on what success looks like. So a lot of us, we start a business, we start pursuing something, but we're lacking the exact clarity of what winning looks like. Have you actually sat down and identified what does, if I'm able to succeed in this business, what does it look like? How much money am I making? What am I doing on a day-to-day basis? Who's my team? What's around me? What does the structure look like? You want to start with the end in mind. Some of it you're going to figure out as you go along. That is true. But you need to have some sense of clarity of what winning looks like. And spend time every day mentally rehearsing that, visualizing that. That's a huge point right there. The next one is too focused on making money than solving a problem. Entrepreneurship is really simple when you think about it. An entrepreneur simply solves problems. That's your role as an entrepreneur. The more that you can go out and start a business based on problems that other people are experiencing, and your intention is to go solve that problem, it's a small distinction that will put you in a far better position to succeed. Because as opposed to thinking about what can I get, how can I make money, you're focused on how can I go out and help solve people's problems. And your ability to fulfill and actually succeed in solving people's problems will determine how successful you are. Now, even when you're focused on solving problems, things can go wrong and it can get really hard. And one of the most powerful ways to keep going and to succeed is to know clearly your why. Why are you doing this? Why did you decide to start a business? Leave the comfort of a job and a paycheck and benefits and stability. Why would you go out there and risk this idea, embarrassment, loss, failure? And when you tap in and you know your why, it's going to drive you through the hard times. There's a phrase that when you have a strong enough why, you will figure out the how. When I think about the example that I want to set for my kids, my family, showing that I was able to overcome my doubts, my fears, adversity, obstacles. When I think about the life that I want to create, the generational wealth, the impact that I want to have on my community and helping others. It's in those times where if I was just starting my business because of me and my needs, I would not be able to keep going. And so understanding the human spirit and psychology is that we're generally willing to do more for others than we are for ourselves. And so when you tap into your why and you have that clear, it's going to help push you through those times when you want to quit and you want to give up. The next point is hanging around the wrong people. There's a phrase that proximity is power. You're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most times with, right? Think about it. Your closest 5 friends, about how much money do they make? You probably make somewhere pretty close to the average. And so one of the things that you can do to very quickly level up your life is start spending time, as much time as you can, with people that are much farther ahead than you. So if all of your friends in your circle are employees that work for other people, you're the only one starting a business and doing entrepreneurship, then you're gonna have a tough road. They're not gonna understand you, your perspective, where you're coming from. Now, on the other hand, when you're able to start being around people that are doing it and succeeding, you're able to get advice from them, support, understanding. It changes the game. And that was a huge part for me in actually deciding to go and sign our franchise agreement and buy a franchise was me starting to hang out and become really close friends with my buddy who had a $5 million a year company. And the more I spent time with him, the more I was like, man, I can do this. I think I can do this. And he was encouraging me and speaking vision into me. He was going, man, with your skill sets, you should be making at least $1 million a year. I was like annoyed and almost offended at that comment because it was like, I mean, I'd love to, and I'm trying, but I keep failing. But it was his vision that he spoke to me that really started to plant that seed of like, I can do this. So you need that in your life. You need to be around people that are telling you, you can do this. You can make this happen. Not people that are telling you that you're crazy or you have a good thing at this job and you should just stay there, or you want people breathing life into your vision and being able to give you advice that's going to help you to succeed. Now, last but not least is when you try to get things perfect. So many reasons why I failed in the past had to do with trying to be a perfectionist. And progress over perfection over the last 6-7 years has been my motto. Progress over perfection. Progress over perfection. It ties back into so many other ones that we've talked about already, which is like speed of implementation, right? Being able to endure pain. Part of that is just not focusing on having things be perfect and just keep moving forward. It's one of the biggest things that I've learned from watching and spending time with other entrepreneurs who have built much bigger companies than I have and that I've looked up to. And I watch the way that they do things, and they're constantly implementing and doing it messy. If you like this video, I recently did one on how I went from 9 failed businesses to $4.6 million made as an entrepreneur. You can watch that right here. I talk about what it is that I learned and what I think will be helpful for you. I'll see you on the next one. Make sure to subscribe.